Today we are talking to Marco Gomez from the DOMA Theater Company. And Marco is a producer, a director, a performer, a philanthropist, an investor, you name it, Marco does it. So Marco, can you talk to us a little bit about DOMA Theater Company first?
Sure. DOMA Theater Company was started in 2003. It was two friends gathering in a garage trying to play musicals. Dolph Ramos, who stands for the DO in DOMA, and myself, Marco, who stands for the MA. We always saw that there were big Broadway shows and then there were 99-seat shows, but there wasn't really something in between. So we wanted to bring Broadway type musicals into little tiny boxes. And so far, after what is it, 13, 14 years now, we've succeeded in doing that with our shows like American Idiot, Young Frankenstein, and Jesus Christ Superstar. We really pushed ourselves to delivering Broadway caliber.
Right, I mean, you're in the Los Angeles intimate theater scene, and yet you've been able to, for many years when you were resident at the Met Theater, you were able to take a space that's relatively small with only 99 seats, and yet bring these huge productions that felt like much bigger productions. And you got a lot of acclaim for those shows. So thank you so much for bringing those shows to Los Angeles. While you were doing that, you also dipped your toe a little bit into developing new work, and you actually produced a new work, and you commissioned some new works. Can you talk a little bit about your experience and what your thoughts are about bringing new works to the canon?
New works are very tricky, but they are very great to have. We commissioned Dorian's Descent, which was DOMA's first back production, having to do with Dorian Gray and trying to modernize it in some respects to attract the attention of people. Like with any work, when you create something, you have to just test it, and I like to stage it so that I can see the areas that need improvement and then work out all the kinks. It was a wonderful experience, and I'm looking forward to doing it again in the near future. But also having the ability to commission new works, like 3 vampire musicals that I recall being done by back then it was the American Musical
Academy for New Musical Theater, we were called then, and now we're New Musicals Inc. But that's right, we worked on actually a total of 4 musicals, a full length and 3 short musicals.
I remember those, and they were wonderful. I remember watching them being created, and I would love to go through that process again. It was very fun, very challenging, and it allows me to see how much hard work it goes into developing commission works. To tell anybody that is interested, when you do a commission work, don't expect your work to be written within 6 months and then staged. It's a developing process. If you listen to works that have been on Broadway, even Hamilton, 7 years to get it to where it's at. So everybody thinks that their work is wonderful as soon as they finish the last word on the script. It probably is, but it just needs to be adjusted for many different variables that affect it once it gets to a stage.
Well, and that's so true of musical theater because it's such a collaborative art form, and there's so much more. There is, of course, the writing in 3 arenas, the dialogue, the lyrics, and the music, but there's also everything else that goes along with it, the dance and the costumes and the set, and it takes a lot to get it all working together to deliver what you want.
Oh yeah, and to make it work cohesively is a challenge in itself, because not only do you have, in some cases, a writer, a lyricist, you then have the music director, the composer, the director, and they may all be different individuals or they may be the same, but everybody protects the realm and their responsibility because everybody wants to give their best. But then sometimes ideas may clash or different points of view come across, and having a team that can work out transitions, meeting in the ground, in neutral ground, or meeting halfway to make everything work is really essential. And that's one of the best things that I've been very fortunate with DOMA, is that all the individuals that we have worked with, Angela Todaro, who's our choreographer, Chris Raymond, who's been our composer, music director, same like Dolph Ramos, Brian Michaels, the list is endless. Everybody is well respected in their fields, but everybody comes in and they all meet halfway to make sure that everything works. Even seasoned professionals like John Iacovelli, who's won many awards for his sets, he works with our light designer to make sure that both people can deliver what they want to create, which then helps me tremendously when I'm directing, because it makes the whole event so much more fun.
Yes. Now, I know that DOMA is taking a bit of a hiatus from producing live theater, but that does not mean that you are not busy. So could you talk to us a little bit, Marco, about some of the projects that you've been investing in and co-producing that have gone beyond live theater, or that are Broadway-bound movies, all of the other things that you've been getting interested in these days?
Right. The reason DOMA went on a little break, as I like to call it, has mostly to do with me, in the sense that I also do development in real estate, and I do films and Broadway investments and so on. And sometimes it takes a lot of work, especially because I'm the one that directs most of the shows for DOMA. So I wanted to make sure that we were focused once we got back into it. The problem that we had was also that we needed to see how the things with equity were going to work out. And luckily, DOMA now has an equity contract that can allow it to stage anywhere, whether it's a small stage, a big stage. So that's a great thing. In the meantime, we have also worked with LASA, Los Angeles Stage Alliance, in thinking about developing a theater complex similar to the ones that are in New York, where, like a big cinema has different screens in one location, we're thinking of having different sized theaters in one location, where you can have touring companies, you can have new works, you can have revivals. It's a great development. Lots of work, lots of planning. You have zoning, you have the commissioners, but everybody has been very open to the idea. Even though we have changes with the financial market, we are adjusting our model so that everything that we wanted to bring in, like tax-exempt bonds and tax credit equity and all that, still allows, or still part of what we want to do. In terms of future investments, we also have finished a couple of films that we'll be working on. One is a documentary about runaway youth, very important in our current society. The other one is more commercial, a comedy, which will be premiering pretty soon. And then on the Broadway side, we are starting the tour for On Your Feet, which is the Gloria Estefan musical. I'm also involved with Matilda, the touring company. We have a few shows, you tend to forget which ones you work on. But there's many wonderful shows on Broadway that we work on. Dear Evan Hansen, looking into that one. And I know there's more and I'm probably forgetting, but it's been a busy time, even though you don't see DOMA active. The staff at DOMA has been active in other projects, but we are very hopeful of coming back either late 2017 or mid-2018. So I will tell everybody to stay tuned.
Okay, and I know it's been a very challenging time in Los Angeles because of the removal of the 99C plan that had been in effect here for many years with the Actors Equity Union, and that has caused a lot of theater companies to have to try to rethink their model of how they're going to produce. So it seems like you've been having your own talks with Equity to arrange a contract that works for DOMA, that you will be able to, but is it your intention to continue to produce in a 99-seat space, or were you hoping to move to a larger venue?
Both. There is such a value, an inherent value in doing a production in an intimate theater setting. I love the Met Theater. It's my stage, as I call it. It allows us to create a wonderful Broadway production and be able to bring the entire audience with you. You can feel you are in the show when you have that level of intimacy, which is lost when you're in a big theater. When you're in America, when we did American Idiot, to have so many people close by, they were singing and chanting along with the actors and the dancers. You felt the energy, and everybody knew what they were getting into, and they came out with higher expectations. It was an experience that I would love to recreate over and over with many different shows. So I don't want to lose that. At the same token, because of the growth DOMA has had in the past few years, we are going to venture into larger theaters with other theater groups so that we can utilize resources better. And that way we learn the bigger stages in LA, since there's a lot of challenges in that forum as well. But we look forward to all the challenges.
And you mentioned that you're looking forward to the possibility of working on a world premiere musical again. If the whole world was open to you, what kind of a musical would you be looking for in terms of the story and the scope? I don't mean specifics, but just generally, what would you be looking for that would get you excited about doing all the work it takes to get a new work produced?
That's a big question. Whereas most people are probably focusing on doing something that reflects the current political environment, which I believe I've had enough of for now. They're also looking towards to see what the next big Hamilton is, or copy another Shakespeare in the Park type message. I would say we need to find something that is totally different, just like Hamilton was very different than all the musicals that we've seen, just like In the Heights was also very different from most musicals. I will gear towards that the most. Find something in our culture that needs to be seen, that has basically fallen through the cracks. I will give one of my ideas away. I would personally love to see a Native American musical. I would love to learn more about the culture, the legends, the rituals, the richness of it, because I haven't seen a musical about it that really teaches you about that. So if I were to do one, that would be the first one I would work on.
Oh, very interesting. And would you be searching for a team made up of Native Americans, or at least some Native Americans that are part of the creative team?
I will. In the normal course, I will probably select a team of consultants that are from the Native American tribes, different tribes, so that I can learn how to work with them, because there are many restrictions and they are very guarded with their culture. So I don't want to disrespect anything in the process. I want to make sure that we reflect the legends or the customs exactly the way they should be. I don't want to commercialize them, because then that will lose the beauty of it. So that would be my first task, to find a group of really good consultants that can then give me a glimpse of what story I can pick from one of their many legends, and then develop that with a team, a seasoned team of writers, lyricists, and whatnot. But then make sure that I always have my consultants able to tell us yes, no, not even close, or right on. And hopefully, if we get to a staging level, I would love to have an entire Native American cast. Not sure if I will be able to, but that it's in the works.
So it feels like, in a way, what you're saying is that sometimes when a new thing comes along like Hamilton that is breaking new ground, a lot of people rush to try to create the next Hamilton, which in a way means they're trying to mimic it. And what you're saying is you don't want to do the next Hamilton, you want to do the next big innovation that is a whole new direction.
Exactly, because that way we can keep pushing the envelope even further. There's so many areas in this world that need to be tapped. We really like the films. They're doing revivals of old films. There's many, many, many subjects that we can touch on. I don't need to see the revival of a great classic destroyed just because they didn't know what else to do. We can use those funds in many, many other projects that will create better results.
So true. So Marco, there's a question that we've been asking everybody that we've been interviewing, and as a philanthropist who indeed invests money and also donates money to various organizations that are trying to produce this fabulous theater, this question has a slightly different effect for you, I think. But the question is, if you were to wake up and suddenly you have $100 million at your disposal to use for the development of new musicals, how would you want to use that money?
That's a loaded question because now my financial mind is coming to work, my developer mind is coming to work, and so is my creative side, and that's a very big question. If you have $100 million, the first thing is you will want to create a budget that would set funds aside for pre-development, for development, for staging. Make sure that you're not just putting too much money away for named stars, but at the same time, do have something just in case whatever you're creating would allow it. Budgeting is the first thing. I wouldn't want to squander the funds. I would want to make sure that everything is used properly. Make sure that the idea is one that deserves to be developed. 100 million sounds like a lot, but it's not. On Broadway, we use 18, 20 million in a second. Even in LA, $300,000, $400,000 for a 99-seat show can happen in cases. So I wouldn't say think of 100. I would say think that you have 50, work with 50, and then your other 50 will help you transition all the little gaps that are going to come up when you least expect it.
In terms of the arts complex that you were talking about, would that be something that would be something you could use that money for to help make that arts complex happen with several different sizes of theaters and the ability to produce on a regular basis?
I will use part of it. One of the greatest thing is if you're familiar with the financing sources that are available. When you have tax-exempt bonds, when you have tax credit equity, new markets tax credits, solar credits, etc., you know that you can create a model that would allow you to utilize all these financial vehicles and develop that project. I will probably use some of that as what we call pre-development funds in order to get reports done, zoning, and things of the sort, but I wouldn't use all of it. I will actually still use other financing vehicles. I will probably use that more to create new musicals that will require a little bit more funding to get them off their feet.
Well, thank you so much for all of that, Marco. To wrap it up, I'd like to ask you, what do you see, and this is a two-part question, musical theater, and what kind of advice would you give to aspiring writers of musicals to help them be a part of that future?
New musicals, I would suggest that writers think to incorporate the developing of technology into the musicals. I'm a traditionalist. I love big sets. I love the hanging lights. I love the old styles of theater. But Broadway and other theaters in the nation, they're following very minimalist sets. They're incorporating more projections and video and the illusion of things that are happening with technology. You know, the lights are making wonderful changes nowadays. So keep all of that in mind. It's kind of like doing a film now, that you can actually create a film live. That's what theater seems to be working more. Still keep the message clear as to what it is you want people to be aware of. Raise social awareness, raise economic awareness, raise everything that we're going through. Because one of the best ways I think that we can change people's mind, or at least open up their minds to consider other options, other alternatives, is to show them the other side of things. And without being confrontational, you can use musical theater to do that, present your point of view, and make a fun song out of it. Maybe the song will stick in their mind and it'll be in the back of their mind when they're thinking about what it is that they're going to be doing. Writers have a lot of opportunities and they have a great speaking voice, so they should know that they need to use it very carefully, very powerfully, and there'll be people like me waiting in the background to get something that's really good and say, we'll help you make it true, because we'll believe in it.
Well, thank you very much, Marco. Thank you for everything that you and DOMA do for musical theater in general and new musicals specifically. We definitely appreciate it, and we're looking forward to seeing what you're going to be doing next. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.